What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the neighborhood. Thanks for spending part of your day with us today. This episode is something we call the Neighborhood Watch. Welcome to the podcast where two longtime friends and sometimes a guest talk about their favorite games from the perspective of an average player. My name is Andrew Kimball.
And I'm Dylan Wren, and we are your friendly neighborhood gamers.
If this is your first time listening, first of all, thank you for checking out the podcast. The Neighborhood Watch is an episode format we do once a month where we can talk about all the games we're playing that probably won't get their own dedicated deep dive, but we still want to give them some time in the spotlight. Dylan, this is not the official opening question, but how's your new year going so far?
Busy. Got a bunch of stuff I'm getting ready for school-wise, so getting all of that in order. So, hopefully it'll slow down by April. We'll see.
I've finished school, so this January's been incredible, and it's been a lot less busy for me than the last few Januaries have been, so
I can imagine.
I've been appreciating that for sure. It's been fun to be able to focus in a little bit more on gaming just as a hobby, but also especially this side of it, the content creation.
Yeah. The
day as of recording this, my Assassin's Creed Mirage video went live, and I never would have been able to make that video while I was in school.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I have a little bit more time to be able to kind of pour into my hobbies and my things that I enjoy like that. So I do have a icebreaker question for you to get this episode started, though.
Yeah.
And it's one I thought of randomly and was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good question. Could maybe even be its own topic.
Yeah.
So I wrote it down real quick before I forgot it. And that question is, if you could make your own Smash Brothers style fighting game with any IP, who would your 8 fighters be? And I picked the 8 based off like the original Super Smash Brothers, because obviously now it's like, who would your 56 fighters be?
Yeah. There were only 8 in the original Smash Brothers? Wow.
Yeah, they may have had a few more that you could unlock.
Yeah.
But I think it was like 2 rows of 4. I could be wrong.
Yeah. There weren't many, for sure.
No, it was like Mario, Pikachu,
Ness,
Link.
Ganon. No, not Ganon.
Not Ganon. Samus, maybe.
That sounds right. Fox, probably.
Fox. Yeah, if it wasn't 8, it was maybe only like 10.
Yeah.
But we'll stick with 8 for the...
Makes it easier.
Yeah, for the exercise we're doing today.
Yeah. Yeah, because I looked at this question and I was like, how do I want to take this? Part of me was like, make a From Software fighter and just have like the protagonist from like Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, Sekiro, a hunter from Bloodborne, a mech from Armored Core, and like, the guy from Elden Ring. But
it's 12. 12 characters.
Okay.
We forgot Kirby, Jigglypuff, Captain Falcon, and Donkey Kong. And Luigi. Luigi made it to the first game.
I didn't realize Jigglypuff was an OG Smash Bros. Fighter. I assumed that was added in Melee. So I think I'm going to go... It's tough because I feel like, Smash Bros. Worked because it was like a bunch of like mascot platformers that they brought together. Or like a bunch of mascots. And I don't feel like I play as many games with like mascots where I would like to bring them in. It's like, okay, I could do like Master Chief.
Okay.
Marcus Phoenix.
Yeah.
Doom guy.
So you're
I'm creating the Xbox version of Smash Bros.
The Wolfenstein BJ Blazkowicz.
Yeah.
So it's just bros with guns, the fighting game.
Pretty much. Maybe you swap it into some sort of like competitive, cooperative, like third-person shooter or something, and you just have that going on. let's see what else is the guy from Dishonored, I guess.
Corvo.
Yeah.
So you're trying to make an Xbox version, is what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Because most of the games that I would want to pull people from, it's like, it's you're playing as your created character. Like throw the Monster Hunter guy in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess you could pull like side characters, NPCs, like you could pull the Admiral in from Monster Hunter or something. You could pull in Lady Dimitrescu.
Yeah. So you went like dudes, bros with guns. I would probably go like bros with swords.
Yeah.
And it'd be like Talion, Geralt, who was in Soul Calibur.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else could you throw in there? You'd throw in some like Clive or even Cloud from like Final Fantasy, one of the bros with big swords.
You could do the Smash Bros. Ultimate and just have a ton of Final Fantasy characters that are not distinct from each other if you're not a Final Fantasy fan.
Right.
Kind of like Fire Emblem, where it's like, here's 47 Fire Emblem characters. What's the difference in them? Not much.
But like Cloud's already in Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
So like they
like that was the tough thing, is like this prompt, it's like, well, who's not in Smash Bros?
They managed to pull in a few like Sora and Cloud and Snake and Sonic. So like they have a few kind of iconic characters outside of Nintendo.
Yeah, like who's missing? Like Lara Croft?
Yeah, you could put Lara Croft in there. You could put Kratos. I mean, I know PlayStation did their PlayStation All-Stars and it didn't really work out. For me, it would be, I try to think about games where the main character has a cool set of abilities and would look cool. Because for me, thinking about everybody I just mentioned and then adding Lara Croft to the mix is like, she's a cool, iconic character, but I don't know how, like obviously in Smash Brothers, it doesn't really matter. But for me, I would want to keep it more thematically. So like her coming in and fighting with her like climbing picks against Kratos with his axe. It's like, it could work, but I would rather put somebody else in there that like Geralt fighting Kratos with, you know, his silver sword or something. It seems a lot cooler to me.
Yeah, you're aesthetically going for the more like high fantasy type of.
Yeah, like the melee fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
that's
what I would lean on.
Bring someone in from like Baldur's Gate. You could bring in For Honor. You could bring in like some of those characters. I don't remember any of their names.
I was going to say, so there's the divide of like, okay, am I trying to make a game with some iconic characters that fit these cool abilities I'm going for? Or am I just going to make a game with characters I like? Because it's like, then you could just throw in War from Darksiders 1. And it's like, I would like that, but that's not I mean, it is, you also get into the argument of like, what's iconic and all that, but like, that's a probably at least B tier level game as far as like recognition. And so for me, I'd be like, seeing War or Death fighting against Kratos in this game, that's pretty cool. But it wouldn't really be that wouldn't be a huge bullet point to put on the back of the box that like War from Darksiders is in there.
Yeah. Well, now I'm thinking like, okay, you have Elden Ring guy, you have Dark Souls guy, you have Bloodborne guy, you have Demon Souls guy, you have Sekiro, you have Pinocchio, you have the guy from Mortal Shell, you have the lady robot from that French Revolution robot one.
Could you get to 8 with just FromSoft?
I mean, that was with just FromSoft. If you branched out to like Kingsfield Armored Core, like some of their others,
you have Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 guy.
Yeah, yeah. If you split the Dark Souls up, then yes.
You know, what'd be cool is if it was a fighting game where you played as the bosses from FromSoft games.
I think that would be really cool. I think you could do a lot with that.
It's Melania versus what's the chick in Dark Souls 3?
Lady Freya or something like that.
Pit those two against each other.
Yeah. Well, it's like that guy who was doing the like demake and then was doing like Bloodborne Kart or whatever. like get him to like make an old school version of like Super Smash, like with just the 12 characters, and just pick like
be the next like
a D-Res. It's got like 3 stages. It's got items like here's a bomb, here's a blood vial, here's some sort of like here's an NPC summon, and it summons in a random like boss that's not one of the fighters. It just is, the
other thing you could do is, like, we're talking about taking game franchises and putting them into a fighting game.
Yeah.
You could just take kind of like what Nickelodeon and Warner Brothers did and just take your IP and put it into a fighting game. You could just make like a Lord of the Rings arena fighter, or an Avatar: The Last Airbender arena fighter, or...
Yeah. So much of this question, I was looking at it and I was like, I mean, Fortnite, I guess. Like, just do... I am... Like, we kind of joked a couple episodes ago about how everything is a Fortnite. And that is one of the, like, areas I could see them branching into, like, making another pillar. Like, they've got sort of the cheap, bad version of Guitar Hero. They've got the racing game. They've got the Battle Royale. Technically, they still have the survival against, like, the zombies mode in there.
Right.
I could see them doing, though, like, a fighter game.
Right.
Like
a party, like a Smash clone.
Yeah, like some sort of like a Smash clone with like various like weapons or items from like the Fortnite stuff. And then maybe just like, I don't think they could get away with like, oh, you have the Master Chief skin, and so like that's gonna do like he's gonna fight in this way or something. Like,
yeah, it'd be like the Mii fighters in Smash Brothers, where they have like archetypes you can put your skins on.
Yeah.
And then you just have items from the various games that you can pick up and use. I would probably go pretty sweaty in a game mode like that if they had one. Because the problem with Smash Brothers is that, other than when your friends come over who don't have the game and never play it, and so you just mop the floor with them.
Yeah.
The online is Nintendo Online. Whereas if it was built on like Fortnite servers and you're playing it on an Xbox, like you could actually get online and play that game and grind for battle passes and stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be sick, actually, the more I think about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of sad that I just thought about that and didn't throw it out there as like a prediction. Like,
right.
Because that it feels feasible, like it feels like something they could do, and it feels like it would be good. And I mean, they've already got so much buy-in.
So much faster. If I was putting them into a fighting game mode.
Yeah, because it's like, and they could always like add a bunch of, like, they could add new archetypes or whatever, and it's kind of like, here's your shooter man archetype, and based on your skin.
Yeah. Right.
It's like Master Chief is a shooter man or whatever, and Geralt is a sword man.
That's basically how the Mii fighters in Smash Ultimate work, is there's like 3 of them, and it's like sword, gun, and fist or something.
Yeah, so they could like expand that out, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, here you are. It's Geralt fighting Spider-Man, fighting Thanos, fighting like
fighting what's his name? Andrew Lincoln from The Walking Dead.
Yep. Yeah. Fighting Stranger Things 11. Fighting Buff Peter Griffin. So.
Oh man.
Yeah. Like I could definitely see that actually happening. And now that I think about it, I'm like, that would actually be pretty dope too.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah. As a relatively new Fortnite convert, that would just keep me in even more.
Yeah.
Wow, well, we got there with that question.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and roll into our main topic for this episode. So it's been a minute. I've really enjoyed our kind of end of the year / New Year content that we've been putting out, the Game of the Year list, the awards, our fantasy critic. We had our 100th episode fall in there as well. So a lot of really cool stuff going on. But in all that time, we've been playing games in the background.
Someone.
Yeah. Or we've been playing big game
Yeah.
in the background. So this episode, I mean, we may end up burning all of our time on a couple and saving some for another episode, or we may just kind of lightly touch on a lot of games here. We'll see how it flows.
The game that I've been playing the most of also feels like a game that will get a full-blown episode eventually.
Yes.
And so I don't know how much I'll talk about.
It may even get like a part 1 and part 2 where like you, Aubrey, and Joe sit down and talk for like 4 hours. Yeah, and Braden about Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
So is there anything you want to say about Baldur's Gate here, or do you want to save that for the future?
I can talk about Baldur's Gate. So I think the last time we did one of these, I was still impatiently waiting for Baldur's Gate to finally come out on Xbox. And it has now. It came out the day of the Game Awards, the night of the Game Awards. Even though they tried to make it seem like it wasn't, because it flashed up briefly and then disappeared, and we could find no evidence that it was there. And then,
I think that was just a bug.
Yeah.
Because they were supposed to announce, and it's out right now on Xbox, or it's out tonight on Xbox or whatever, but the whole hurry up and finish your speech, you idiot thing kind of discombobulated, and they forgot to say that on stage. So,
but yeah, it finally came out, and so I've been playing it. It's basically been my main game that I have played for the past, since it came out. So,
a little over a month at this point.
Yeah. And it is, hey guys, did you know Baldur's Gate 3 is really good? Believe it or not, the game that won Game of the Year and got multiple 10 out of 10s. Pretty good. But yeah, no, I've been really enjoying it, just from like a high concept level of, like without getting into like all of the details and story. I think it's really cool that it has options if you want to play a character that they kind of have like a pre-written story for. But like most of them end up as your NPC companions if you don't choose to go that route. But you can also just create your own character, which is really cool. And there are a ton of like different options in that. It really, I'm a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons. And so this is that in video game form pretty much. But even just playing through the first act, like I'm in Act 3 now, which is the final act, and still have a ton of stuff to do. But like the first act, it's like it starts you off with like the tutorial. You wake up on the beach after that, and then it presents you with a problem and is like, hey, here's your problem. Go solve it. Lets you kind of loose in the world. And within, like an hour or so of exploring just the little opening area, there were like at least 5 or 6 different possible solutions that I had discovered for like the main issue that I had. And it was just kind of like, and go figure out which one of those that you want to pursue, or all of them, or, it really kind of lets you decide how you want to play through the game. Because I have like a need to see everything in the game. I explored each one of those options before like settling on like, okay, and this is the one I'm going to go down and do. Because some of them like just didn't make sense based on like the way I was playing the game. And then others, it's like, well, okay, here are the like 3 that are maybes, and which one do I actually want to pursue, And the entire game is like that. Basically, there are entire parts of the world you can just not see based on choices you make. And that's something I really like about the game too, is like, it's not afraid to just kind of be like, you made this choice. Like that is what happens. And like there are consequences to your action. Like there are so many games that, and like, I get it from like a development standpoint, where it's like it costs a lot of money to make a game. And so if they're going to spend that money, they want to make sure as many people as possible see that part. But this game is not afraid to have a ton of stuff that you don't that like a bunch of people are just not going to see. It's not afraid to not hold your hand. It's not afraid. Just in the first act, there are multiple occasions where like NPCs that have entire quest lines devoted to them can just die. And it's not afraid to just let them die based on the choices that you make. And
yeah, it's an independent studio making a pretty niche type of game for a diehard audience that just happened to find mainstream success.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like we had the conversation when Elden Ring came out of like like when Breath of the Wild came out. It's like, how is this going to change the gaming landscape? Some of that I think turned into Elden Ring, but then Elden Ring comes out and it turns into another conversation of like, how does this change the gaming landscape? And I feel like that is something where I look at this game and I'm like, I hope that this changes the gaming like I hope people can look at this, developers can look at this and not be so afraid to like, because that's I guess the thing that stands out to me the most in this game is just how it feels like it matters. Like The Witcher 3 had a very similar thing too, where it's like a lot of the quest lines, it's like and outcomes of the like you were still kind of on the main path, but how you got there and what all happened could be vastly different based on the choices you made as Geralt, right? And I thought that was really cool, and it made it feel like your decisions in that game had weight to them. And also I think it, helped that a lot of those decisions were like kind of ambiguous and neither one was clearly like, this is the good guy option, this is the bad guy option. And I think Baldur's Gate 3 does a very good job of that as well, where, obviously there are some that are much more like, this is not the grim, dark fantasy world of The Witcher. So like there is more space here for it to be like, this is the good option, this is the evil option. But it's not that simple ever. It's right. Usually like, you could kind of see it going either way. There are very clearly, like if you do want to do a very evil playthrough, there are very clearly options that are like, you can just be an evil bastard. If you want to be like the lawful good, morally good person, like there are ways to do that. But there's a ton of space in between those two extremes to let you kind of play it how you want, and the game is not afraid to let you play it like that. And I think that really makes it feel like everything that you do in that game matters. Not that, I think every game needs to be that way, but there are like a lot of RPGs out there or a lot of games that like to purport like, oh, we've got, your choices matter or whatever. And it's like, well, not really, like I saw somebody talking about like playing Starfield and how it just straight up prevents you from like killing certain NPCs because they're required for a quest and stuff. And it's like, it would have been cool though if like you had locked yourself out of an entire quest line because of a choice you made and you shot this guy,
Right.
And so in games like that, where it's trying to be this like big, play your way, choices matter type of game, I hope this changes that landscape for them. But yeah, the story's really good. I'm not going to say much about it until we get to like an actual episode involved with it.
Right.
The characters are amazing. I've been really liking the combat. When we play D&D in person, I am the DM, and so I don't normally get to, I usually have just the monsters that I get to control, and so it's kind of cool being on the other side of that and being like, I am now controlling these characters. Here is what I can actually do. But yeah, I've been really loving it. Surprised, it's a good game.
I need to get back to it because I hit a point where I could finish Act 1, but I'd only done like, they give you like 2 big options for like how to proceed through Act 1, and I did one of them. And so when I got to the point where it was like, you can go to Act 2, it was like, hey, you should probably go level up before you do this because you're going to really struggle in Act 2 at your current level. And I put the game down. And then I started playing other stuff. And now
you got it on PlayStation, right? So you picked it up back in like September or whatever. So you picked it up prior to like the big hitters this year of like Spider-Man and
yes, exactly. So I put it down and I played a bunch of other stuff. And now the thought of going back to it feels almost like homework. It feels kind of overwhelming. Like I boot it up and I see that I have my party that all need to level up.
Yeah.
And then I have everybody back at camp that I need to go like talk to and probably level them up. And then, you know, I'm talking to people like my brother and you and talking about like respecking or rebuilding certain companions to min-max your party to make things more effective.
That's more your brother. I have just kind of been rolling with it. Like Shadow Heart's stats make 0 sense if you're actually trying to have her as a cleric, but I haven't bothered changing them.
And so like I did jump in the other night and I picked up Asterion because I had missed him up to this point. So I'd gotten to that point in the game without even knowing anything about him. So I grabbed him, sent him back to my camp, and that was like all I did that night. And I'm like, this game is good, and I enjoyed what I'd played so far. And I know once I get back into that groove, I'll be enjoying it again. I just kind of have to find that mood to get back into a deep, numbers-based, beefy RPG where it's like not a play for an hour and put down kind of game. It's like, oh, I'm going to play this all Saturday afternoon and really sink into it.
Yeah. And it's not one, like we were talking before the show about like, you know, podcast games and stuff. And like, this is not like, this is a game where you're wanting to pay attention to like all of the story stuff that's going on. And you're also, you know, like exploring and getting into like tactical combat battles. And, you know, it's not an easy one to just kind of like, it's like you said, it's one that you don't just pop into for 30 minutes. Like well, and it's a weird thing too, I feel like, because for me anyway, I feel like this game is very good at like, it has a bunch of little objectives that I'm doing. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm going to hop in and I'm going to go like explore this little part of the map or whatever. And, you know, that may take 30 minutes, but then I want to keep like that opens up 3 more options that I now want to go explore. And so it's just, it is very good at like just kind of stringing you along to, you're constantly feeling like you're making some progress. You're constantly feeling like you're getting stuff done. You're constantly like, well, let me just see what's around this next corner. And then the next thing you know, it's been 3 hours.
I also have to be just in the mood to play Baldur's Gate because it, especially on console, does not play like any other video game out there. Like the buttons don't do what buttons do in every other video game. There's no dash, there's no, well, there's like dash, there's jump, but there's no like sprint and press A to jump over this river. It's like take an action to see if you can jump over this river. So like I have to be in that mindset to be like, this is what I want to like dig into. And I just haven't felt that recently, but it is like, it's still installed. It's still one that like I want to go back to, especially as you guys are nearing more of the end game stuff. I'm like, well, I could see realistically, we could do an episode on it.
Yeah.
In the next month or so. So it's like, I probably should get back into it, and not saying we have to do one soon, because we already missed the initial hype, but it would be kind of awkward to be like, okay, well now I finished it, everybody, and you guys have to reach back into the like 4 months ago when you finished it to talk about it.
Yeah, well, you know, it is also one of those games where I'm just kind of like, I'm in Act 3, I'm playing it, and I'm like, okay, so like my next character is going to be this, and when I play it again, instead of making these decisions, I'm going to make these other decisions and do it this way. So it may not be
still just be playing it.
Yeah, I was going to say, we may me, Aubrey, Braden, like we may all still just be still playing when you beat it 4 months from now.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one, I think, to dive into, just because it is so big. Everyone's experiences can be different. It's unlike any other mainstream game. Like this is it'll be a very unique title to talk about. I have not been playing that though.
Yeah, what have you been playing?
I was going to throw it to you.
Oh, okay.
I have a list of, I don't know, what is that, like eight or so, 9 games that I've been playing. Which one do you want to hear about first?
I The one I've kept seeing you on is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
I don't know. I didn't watch Dragon Ball Z.
I mean, you have to like yell it, obviously, because it's Dragon Ball Z. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. So fell off Baldur's Gate, decided to play a good RPG. No. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot might hold the award for game that was on my wish list the longest.
Yeah.
And it finally was on sale. I mean, it goes on sale all the time, but it was finally on sale again for like $10 or something. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of in a lull. Let me just give it a shot. I've played some other Dragon Ball Z games, and just like the kind of arena combat never really clicked with me. Back in the day, I had a friend who on Game Boy Advance had a Dragon Ball Z game that I thought was like the coolest thing. It was like a top-down RPG.
Yeah.
And just playing as those characters with their abilities, I thought was just super fun. And so every now and then I'll jump back into a Dragon Ball Z game to try to recapture that feeling, and none of them have really clicked. What makes Kakarot different is that it is an RPG. But that's
not what I was expecting already. I was expecting it to be just like another fighting game or whatever.
No, so it's an RPG with, in some ways, very simple systems, and in some ways, way more systems and menus than it needs to have for a game like this. It is still kind of the like 3D arena fighting, but I've finally like come to grips. I don't know if it's better in this game or it just finally clicked with me, but it's working for me. But the thing that really sold me on Kakarot is that it is the story of Dragon Ball Z, the anime. All the way from the Saiyan arc at the beginning to the Buu saga, where I guess Z ended and then like Super started or whatever. Like that was kind of...
Yeah.
That is Dragon Ball Z. So my Dragon Ball Z experience is that I have seen... Probably I'm most familiar with Frieza, like the Frieza arc. And I've seen bits and pieces of like other things. And I always thought Trunks was cool because he had a sword. I don't know anything about Trunks. I know he's like from the future, but I don't know what that means. I don't know how he's a kid sometimes. I know that now because I'm playing through the story of Dragon Ball Z, which, to be fair, is usually just some exposition about power levels and then a fight.
Yeah.
But it is cool to see it from start to finish and fill in all the gaps that I have about the show, but get to play the fights.
Yeah.
And like I'm in
and that way too, it's, it's not 5 episodes of fight. It's, here's getting it over in like 5 minutes.
The charging of the spirit bomb that happens in the Frieza saga that takes like 5 episodes. It was like 5 minutes in the game.
Yeah.
So that is nice too. It does the thing that a lot of JRPGs do where it has the like different levels of quality for like cutscenes, but like some of the good ones are like really good. It's still in the 3D kind of cell shaded animation, but I could watch a show that looked like that and then some of them is them like standing still with text boxes. So it's like everything in between. But I've reached the point now where I'm at the like Android arc, and I know very little about that whole section of Dragon Ball Z, so I'm excited to go through that. They did omit Vegeta saying it's over 9,000. Yeah, they didn't have that in the game because I got to a point where Vegeta was flying around talking about how his power level had now hit like 24,000 or something. And I was like, wait a sec. That means they should have said like 9,000 is not going to be impressive anymore.
Yeah.
So I looked it up. And first of all, apparently that's a translation issue, and he says 8,000 in Japanese.
Oh.
Not that that really matters, but I can't remember. I read a couple like Reddit threads and stuff about like why it didn't make it into the game or whatever. But yeah, they didn't have that in there for some reason. But I guess other than that, it's pretty much beat for beat the anime. So it's been fun. But the RPG stuff, it's like, so between like the big fights, you're doing these silly little side quests and you're fishing and you're running errands. The majority though, like you could kind of just mainline the game, and after every big fight you get just like 1 billion XP and you level up, and your HP goes from like 1.5 million health to 2 million health because it's Dragon Ball Z.
I was going to say, the numbers are all just like made up at that point.
They're ridiculous. You do an attack that takes like 500,000 damage or whatever. But it's been fun, and it's kind of, on the one hand, it's cool to fill in my knowledge gaps about Dragon Ball Z, and then on the other hand, it's kind of just mindless fun.
Yeah.
Like the RPG systems and stuff like that it's nice that they're there if you want to engage with them. Like you level up your moves, you upgrade your moves with a skill tree. They have these community boards where you get these badges, and each character has a badge, and on that badge they have like 5 stats. So like one could have like high fighting, but they're like low in cooking. And so you have like 5 community boards. One is like the fighting board, one's the cooking board. And so you can arrange these character badges on the boards that they most make sense with and link them to each other. And so there's like all those kind of systems in the game that like, it's cool that they put them in there, and the developers obviously wanted to make this more than just another Dragon Ball Z game. But also it's like, well, this is a lot that feels kind of unnecessary, but so it's been fun, and it's been interesting just kind of playing a game like this that isn't my typical style of game, but I've been enjoying it. The style of Dragon Ball Z, it's iconic for a reason. The shooting, the like just pure blasts of energy from your hands while you yell and your muscles bulge, just like it's just fun. It's cool. It's just cool action. Yep. So that probably won't get its own dedicated episode, but I'm enjoying it. If you find it for $10, it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, for sure. Because that was, I guess, gonna be my next question. It's like, what's the price point that's like, boom, get it, $10?
Well, I think if you like Dragon Ball Z, I would say like half off is fair.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a super fan, go for it. But like, if you get this for like $30 or whatever, I think it's content wise, like there's a lot of content in this game. Like you're gonna get your money's worth dollars to time ratio. It's just a matter of if you enjoy the moment to moment of what you're doing. Because even though you're kind of leveling up abilities and stuff, it's mostly just to keep up with the numbers and to look cooler.
Yeah.
So like when I'm Super Saiyan Goku and I do a Kamehameha, it looks a lot cooler than it did when he was just regular. But it's still the same button prompts. I'm still pushing the same buttons, doing the same counters. Like the gameplay is not evolving all that much. It's just looking cooler as the game goes on.
Yeah. It's making you feel like it's playing into that power fantasy.
It's the ultimate power fantasy.
Yeah. Which is, I was going to say, it's pretty much what I know about Dragon Ball Z is like, it's just this crazy power thing. So,
yeah. Which, not necessarily to stay on my list, but that's kind of a good transition to power fantasies. And I played through the God of War DLC.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is like the opposite kind of power fantasy, because it's all about Daddy Kratos trying to come to terms with the fact that he did all these terrible things and who he is now versus who he was then. And it's a shorter experience that you could play forever because it's a roguelike, but like the story content of it, I think I beat in like 5 hours or something. But man, the combat in that game, really fun. And the cool thing about making it into this roguelike like kind of scenario is that, say you play the base game and you don't use the axe as much, you would rather use the like Blades of Chaos. Well, playing the roguelike, you might not get very many Blades of Chaos options on this run.
Yeah.
And so it forces you to kind of experiment with other sides of the combat system that you maybe didn't really engage with in the base game. And the story stuff they do is probably some of the most explicitly like in your face connections to the Greek games like of old, which was really interesting. And I've really only played a little bit of 3. So I don't have like the nostalgia for those games.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, isn't it virtually impossible to play the first 2?
Probably.
I think they were like remastered, but remastered for PS3. or something.
Maybe so. They might be on like the PlayStation Plus collection thing, but I don't know. I haven't really looked in because I don't really want to play those older games. Like,
well, it's a very different experience. Too,
I like that hack and slash genre.
Yeah,
but at this point, those games are really old.
Yeah,
but Valhalla, the DLC, the roguelike, like it ties into that stuff in like big ways. It's kind of like an epilogue for Kratos at the end of Ragnarok, and it was really good. And it just reminded me how good the combat is in that game. Once you have, like, when you start the first game, you're kind of like, this combat's fine because you have an axe and a shield and you can punch stuff.
That's the part I've never gotten past.
Yeah. But once you like start getting skills and you're mixing in like abilities that are on cooldowns, and you're mixing in multiple types of weapons, and you're mixing in ice and fire and your shield, and you kind of just juggling all of that in active combat, like, it's really satisfying. And Ragnarok turned it up a notch and added like a third weapon, and all of that just fit. Like, it fit like a glove going right back into it for this. And so I had a lot of fun with that. I played it pretty much like every night until I beat it, and it's free. So if you have the
it's
game,
hard to beat that.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend checking it out. But it's like thinking about the power fantasy of Dragon Ball Z compared to the power of Kratos and like where he's at as a character now. I thought it was an interesting transition there. And I feel like it's worth mentioning Valhalla as something that one of the experiences that I've enjoyed recently.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a cool, like, I like roguelikes, right? And so I think it's always cool when something like God of War, adds a roguelike mode into it. I don't think it's worth remastering The Last of Us Part 2 to add like re-releasing it again, but I do think like roguelike modes are cool. I do think they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They're a type of mode that I would love to see options for in more games. Just because I think it adds a lot of replayability just by
for sure
changing up, like
the structure.
Even just thinking of like, okay, some sort of like From Software roguelike or some sort of, Halo roguelike where it's, okay, here, this is your weapon for this run or whatever, I think it'd be really cool.
That's why so many people like to play FromSoft randomizers. Yeah. They're kind of chasing that feeling of keeping it fresh.
Yeah. Which I'm just like, guys, it's right there. It's right. Like, so do you know how many people would pay $15 for a randomizer DLC? You don't even have to, it's just randomly put items in different places and have some sort of check that just makes sure the items you need to like progress aren't locked behind places that you can't get to. Like,
Yeah, do like an enemy one and a item one, and that would
like just let people like check some boxes. And do you know how many people would pay $15 for that from software? Not that you need it, but
I know I've kind of been itching to jump back into Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but if I knew it was going to be slightly different, I would have already pulled the trigger. But just knowing like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to do this. And I was looking up like Bloodborne builds for Elden Ring. Like, how can I play Elden Ring as like a hunter? I was like, maybe I'll try to do that. But a lot of those are like, this is a New Game Plus build, which is fine. But
you don't get the ring until you fight Melania. And so,
yeah, especially if you want like, the rally mechanic. The other last thing I'll say about Ragnarok Valhalla, well, last two things. That's a dumb name.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like saying Apocalypse Heaven. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's silly to put those two words back to back. But as a roguelike, it's a really good place to start if you've never clicked with the genre, because there are difficult, like straight up just difficulty options, easy, medium, hard, whatever. And just the game and the combat of the game is like not trying to punish you unless you seek it out. So it's just a really good place to start. And it's like the most polished, high budget roguelike you'll probably ever see.
Yeah. Well, and if it's just 5 hours, like that's because that's the thing with a lot of the roguelikes, like, Dead Cells or Hades or, whatever. It's like you're going to spend 15 hours before you ever fight Hades in Hades. Like, you know?
Yeah. The story threads pulling you through. You'll get a satisfying experience in 5 hours. And then if you like the loop, you can just keep on playing. Now, that is a little misleading because you shouldn't play this till you've beat Ragnarok, which you shouldn't play until you've beat 2018 if you care about the story progression and what Kratos has gone through to get to the point he's at in this DLC. But as its own experience, it's just a little bite-sized, really fun, tight roguelike package. So definitely worth checking out if you like those games. It's hard to tell on your list because it's
what's an actual game? Also, I didn't order my list at all.
What did you just dip into for an afternoon, and what have you actively been enjoying?
Yeah. So the ones that I've played the most are when I have not been playing Baldur's Gate 3. The ones that I've been playing the most. Number one is Magic the Gathering on Arena, which is their version of the mobile game.
Yeah, I didn't even put Marvel Snap on my list because it's just implied at this point.
It's implied. So, but I've been playing a lot of Magic the Gathering. Just got back into it. Been enjoying it a lot. It's nice because they have different modes. So they've got standard mode, which is only cards from the newest X number of sets.
I think you were telling me about this on our awards episode, how that you can kind of segment off.
Yeah, so it's if you only want to play with the newest, 5 sets or whatever, it's this. And then every year and a half, they rotate which sets are allowed in that version. And so, it still sticks around long enough that you can get into it and develop a meta deck and stuff.
Right.
And not have it just immediately be unplayable.
Yeah.
But they also have older versions. They've got one that is only cards since Arena started. They've got one that's basically all cards that have come out that are on, they haven't released every card from Magic because Magic's been going on for it started in the 90s, 95 maybe. So it's been going on for a very long time.
Almost as long as we've been going on as people.
But basically, there's a mode that's pretty much all cards. And so I have, just because I've played it across the years on and off, I have decks that still kind of work in those modes. Mm-hmm. And those modes, the meta does not shift as often. There's always new stuff coming into it when new sets release and people figure out new combos that they can do. But if you make a good, they call one of the modes historic. If you make a good historic deck, it's pretty much always going to be good. And there may be some minor things that you can upgrade along the way, but that deck is always basically going to work unless it gets too broken and they ban a card.
Right.
And if they do that, they give you free cards so that you can go make a different deck. So I've gotten back into it, been playing that, been having a lot of fun with it. My little brother and I have been playing a bunch against each other too, because they have you can challenge your friends and stuff.
Yeah.
Been climbing up the ranks as well. He hit Mythic, which is, for you Marvel Snap players, it's infinite.
Gotcha.
So he hit Mythic for the first time this week. And then I am still in the 90s in Marvel Snap terminology, which is Diamond in Magic Arena. I keep bouncing back and forth between essentially 95 and 99. So
gotta love it.
Yeah, it's frustrating. But it's good because it's one of those where I am much more familiar with Magic than I was with Marvel Snap. And so I can look at it and I can be okay, I understand what my opponent's deck is trying to do. And I know how to stop it with my deck. Or I know that I have no chance of stopping it, so I just got to be faster. And it's nice because it's a little bit more, I don't know. I like it because feel like there are a lot more options. And they have a mode where you can draft. I don't play that mode a ton. I'm saving up my like in-game currency to play it towards the end of the month, where I will only be matched with people who are also bad at the mode. So I'm enjoying it a lot. It's a very good game. Check it out if you're looking for something that is not Marvel Snap. Arena is pretty good. And then the other game that I've been playing a lot of time, or putting a lot of time into, is Factorio.
Which I've heard that name before, but I cannot place what that game is.
So it's a PC game.
That's a PC game name, Factorio. Yeah.
So you crash land on a planet.
Yeah, I'm out.
It's like a top-down sort of isometric sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
You crash land on a planet, and there are these resources around. So you've got some iron, you've got some copper, you've got some coal, you've got some stone. So you mine, some of that, and then you can build things that automatically mine it for you, and things that smelt the, various minerals down so that you can build more things. And essentially you start creating, it's like, okay, here's some conveyor belts. And so I'm going to have my mine stuff set up, and it's going to conveyor belt it over here, which is going to,
So is it like a city builder?
Kind of, sort of. It's like a factory builder. And so like you're
Factorio.
Yeah, Factorio. So you're slowly starting from like, okay, I'm hand mining all of this, and then eventually you are trying to create this big sprawling,
super efficient
automatic, you're trying to automate a bunch of things.
Interesting.
And, it keeps scaling up. And so it's like, okay, eventually you run out of resources in kind of the starting area. And so you have like, you research like cars, or you research trains, and you set up like a railroad network to connect, like your outposts, collecting more like iron and bringing it into your factory or whatever. You can make robotics. And so like you can automate them building new stuff for you, and, like setting up more of your, like you can set up like, okay, I want you to build this many things over here, and here's how I want them laid out. But you don't have to actually go around and individually place them. You can just say, this is what I want it to look like. And when these things are created automatically by my factory that I have set up, go ahead and put them here. So it's kind of cool. As you're doing all this, there's pollution that's kind of slowly spreading out from your factory. And there are a bunch of like bugs on this planet. And so as the pollution hits them, it makes them aggressive. And so they come and try to attack your factory. And so you're also setting up like turrets and stuff. And
there's always got to be a little bit of defense in these games.
So you can play it where it's not like, you can make it so that they're just not aggressive unless you attack them yourself. You can kind of change how you want to play it, if you want a more chill experience, or you can kind of be like, I've not run into a point where it's
not really the point of the game. It's just like another challenge.
Yeah, it's more so just like you have to think about like, oof, I can't just build this little outpost and leave it undefended. I'm going to like build a wall around it and put some turrets in there and just make sure that they can take them out. And then, eventually you can build a tank and just go steamroll their little hives. And
nice.
So, or you can put a bunch of like artillery cannons on a train and just like drive the train around and have it bombard everything. So the ultimate goal is eventually to like build a rocket ship and get into space and get off the planet. So that's
Makes
kind
sense.
of the core concept. But there's a lot that you can kind of just play it freeform and just make it up yourself. There are also like a bunch of blueprints online that you can just like get, where people have laid out like, here is my base, and here's, the step-by-step of like how you can build this sort of thing. And so I've done the like, I'm doing it myself before. And so this time I was like, okay, I'm going to like find somebody who's really good at this game and has created like a step-by-step from like just the very basics to like a fully fledged automatic base that's in like a nice organized manner, versus mine that tend to just kind of be like haphazard and whatever I needed at the time, here's where it is. In that sense too, it kind of is like almost Legos, where you're kind of like building. It's like, okay, I need to put these pieces, like it has like a ghost outline of what you need. And so it's like, okay, I'm putting these pieces here and I'm doing this. And it's very good at doing that thing where it's just like, okay, I need a little bit more iron. And so I'm going to like go make an iron mine and like run that over. Okay, I did that. Well, now I can make this other thing. And so let me go do that real quick. Oh, well, that unlocked this other thing. So let me go do that real quick. Oh, my research finished. So now I can build this new building. So let me go do that.
It's got a good hook.
Yeah, it's got a good hook. And like I said, if you feel like having more of like a instruction booklet to follow, you can definitely just kind of do that and set it up that way. Or you can sort of freeform it and just have like a bunch of random lines running everywhere. So
yeah,
but it's a lot of fun. It's, not super intensive on PC. I'm pretty sure it's been out for a while, but I was drawn back because I saw a report that they're getting like a 2.0 update and DLC sometime this year. So I was like, well, let me go back and play it so I can remember what it was, so that when the DLC and 2.0 come up, like I can tell what changed,
Right.
Because I think I might have originally gotten it while it was like in early access or something. So it's been a while since I'd played it. So, but it's a cool, it is not the most interesting or story heavy game.
No, it's a systems game.
Yeah, it's a systems type game. And if you're the type of person who enjoys kind of like building with like Legos, or, having some sort of like mechanical interest, I think it scratches that itch pretty well. So, but yeah, so maybe worth checking out. Yeah. I don't think it's expensive either.
I doubt it.
Been out on Steam for a long time. So, but it's one of those that's like overwhelmingly positive on Steam.
Right.
So,
huh.
Most of the negative reviews are joke reviews of like, it ruined my life. I couldn't stop playing it for 8,000 hours.
Yeah. Nice. So where do we go from here?
Well, there's one game on both our lists that I feel like we should talk about. And then I feel like maybe you should wrap it up with your Assassin's Creeds. Or
we can do that.
Yeah. So let's talk about Fortnite.
Let's talk about Fortnite.
Because you described yourself earlier as a recent Fortnite convert. And those are words I didn't think you'd ever say, because we, tried out Fortnite, I would say, a few times, where I had played Fortnite and I was like, hey, we're streaming. We should, stream some Fortnite one of these nights. And I think when that was happening too, it was like the Geralt of Rivia season and Spider-Man was in the store. And I'm like, if there's ever a time that Andrew is going to get into Fortnite, it's when some of his favorite characters are in Fortnite. And then I don't think that hooked you. And so you just kind of kept going. And now you are a convert.
Yeah, I think the initial turnoffs were like the art style and the silliness of Fortnite, and just playing a game streaming, for the first time, like that's not necessarily the ideal way to kind of sink into it and understand, because these games, they're all guilty of this. You boot it up and it's like 7 pages of things that we have going on, or that are happening, or that we can sell you, or that you should buy, or whatever. And it's like, I don't understand any of this lingo yet. I don't speak this language. And so I've tried battle royales. I've played the Call of Duty. I've played Apex. And it just never really clicked for me. So what got me to download Fortnite recently was the Lego mode. So they kept advertising it like crazy at the Game Awards, and I downloaded Lego Fortnite, which is really kind of convoluted because you can just download Lego Fortnite in the Xbox store, but it's like, oh, but you also need to download like Fortnite.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so it's
like downloading a new Call of Duty, but it makes you install Modern Warfare from like 4 years ago.
Exactly. So I got everything installed, and then when I booted it up, I was like, oh, so this is just like Netflix for video games, because it's just tiles of the Epic games, but then also all the user created stuff in there. I played gun game on Nuketown. It was terrible because I got stuck to like a grappling hook gun or a harpoon gun or something, and I could not get a kill with that thing to save my life, and so that was kind of where it ended. But I jumped into Lego mode and was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
It was not what I was expecting.
No. I didn't really have expectations. I guess I thought it might be more like Fortnite, but like the advertisements made it seem like it wasn't a battle royale. So I didn't really know what it was going to be, but I wasn't necessarily expecting just like a Valheim with Lego skins. It's a survival game, survival and crafting. And that was fun. I've put a good chunk of time into that. But then I just hopped into the racing mode, which is also fine.
Yeah.
I usually play a couple rounds of that.
Yeah.
Just to get some quests in.
I'd like to see them expand the racing mode a little bit, make it a bit more like Mario Kart.
It's got a good foundation.
Yeah. Like it's not bad, but also I am much more of like a Mario Kart racer guy. I'm not like, if I'm just racing around the track, that'll last for about 3 or 4 races, and then I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
If I can shoot a shell at somebody,
then it's game on.
Or if you're, Need for Speed, where it's like, okay, I'm racing, but also I'm running from the cops. Like,
yeah, there has to be an additional layer. Yeah. So then I jumped into no build, which I've played before. No build is the thing that it's like the only saving grace, because the regular battle royale with all the building, that's just too much for me. So I jumped into no build and I did a few games and I got a victory royale, and it just kind of just playing through a few rounds by myself to like get comfortable with the interface and kind of the flow and the way that they like the language of the game and all that kind of helped me, because every other time I've played Fortnite has been like, hey, let's hop on and play Fortnite, and then it's, oh, where should we drop? And then people are name dropping locations that I don't know anything about. They're talking about guns that I don't know anything about. I don't know how to recharge my shields. I don't know what gives me health. Like and then it's just kind of this overwhelming mess that's not that fun, and you feel like the weakest link on a team. So being able to jump in and play by myself and take my time and poke around and realize like, oh, so this is how like destructibility works. Yeah. And this is how, the pickaxe is always here and you can quickly get to it with Y, and then the order you pick things up in, like just learning the language of the game and the interface, and then actually going through a few rounds and being like, this feels pretty good to control and shoot and slide and stuff. It was like, you know what? I think I am enjoying this. I think I am having fun.
Yeah, because that's always been my thing with Fortnite, is like, it is hands down, I think, the best feeling third-person shooter I've ever played. Like, it just feels very good as a third-person shooter.
It feels better than the Division 2?
I think so, but also...
movement feels better for sure. I don't know about the shooting for me.
Yeah. The shooting in... I guess the point that I got to in the Division 2, like when I was doing some of the harder content, the enemies felt bullet spongy, and so it didn't feel like my gun had an impact, whereas in Fortnite it does.
I think being able to like zip around the map with certain items and jump and slide and all that is in its favor, because like I think about Gears of War, it's a great feeling game, but like you're a tank in that game. You're like a truck. You don't ever leave the ground. Like your sprint feels kind of awkward. And you lock to like cover. It's cover-based shooter. And so I think having the kind of almost, well, just the standard like FPS jump and slide kind of movement in Fortnite helps it get that additional layer of fun.
Yeah, like it feels very good to play. And I feel like if you can get over that initial hump of like, at this point, as people in our 30s, sort of the contrarian nature that we are like, I don't want to like Fortnite.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And then also like some of the goofiness, some of the cartooniness, some of that kind of stuff. Like if you can get over all of that, it feels so good to play. Like it feels very polished. And it's one of the few battle royales that I feel like I have a decent shot in. And I don't feel like that's because of I'm particularly good at the game. I think, number one, there are just so many people playing it, and there's some sort of matchmaking going on, I'm pretty sure, that pairs you with people closer to your skill level than
especially in ranked,
yeah.
But even in unranked.
But then also, I mean, like it hits that sweet spot of like you have shields, and so if someone gets the jump on you, if like a coked out 6-year-old gets the jump on you,
you might be able to recover
you first, but you may be able to like
turn the tides
there. And that's, something that I really like about Halo, really like about Destiny 2. They recently announced that the unannounced Halo Battle Royale has been canceled. And that was like one of the ones that I was like, I could see myself getting into that, because in Warzone, in any of the other battle royales that we've ever played, it's always like some 12-year-old snipes me from across the map. I never even saw them. I never even had a chance, and it was like one hit kill. Versus Fortnite, where it feels more like you've got a fighting chance. So
the other thing about Fortnite, it's been, it gets brought up every time people talk about this game, but especially like for me getting into it when it's existed for so long and they've had so much time to perfect this, like the carrot on the stick is like immaculately done.
Yeah.
You're always finishing a match, and even if you don't win, seeing that you just got like 75,000 XP or something, and like here's all the quests you just finished, and here's what you unlocked. It's like, okay, I'm happy with that result. And then you go in and you see what you can get if you got the battle pass, or what new things you unlocked that you can equip to your character.
Yeah.
And all of that helps aid and make the overall experience more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I lose in Call of Duty or something, I'm like, oh, that sucked. Like I did not enjoy that.
Yeah. Well, and especially too, because it does a really good job of giving you some options for like, because we were playing a lot during the winter event, right? And so even if we didn't win, we were doing the thing, like we had looked at the objectives, and it was like, okay, land in this zone and, get a single kill. And it's like, that's pretty doable. So even if we weren't winning, it was like we were progressing the quest line and doing like, obviously there's the overall objective of be the last team alive. But there are a bunch of mini objectives where like you had to drive a car 1,000 feet or 10,000 feet or something like that. So we were like, okay, well, let's go to this gas station and get in a car, and we're going to take it. There was a train running around, and it's like, okay, rob the train. So we're like, okay, well, let's land near the tracks, and hopefully the train will come by and we can hop on the train and get that objective done. So
yeah, there was one afternoon, because I started playing this around Christmas time, so everything's all like holiday events going on. There was one afternoon I just did like the holiday quests, and just like knocked all those out. And so I'd try to like knock out as many quest objectives as I can before the circle got too small and locked me out of where I needed to go. And at that point, I was like, well, let me see where I can place. And then when I lost, it was like, well, I got a bunch of stuff accomplished in that run.
Yeah.
It's almost like a roguelike. Let me I'll boot up another one and see what I can get done. And then I finished all the quest lines, got the silly little snow globe pickaxe that they give you, and was like, hey, that was a fun afternoon. And I wasn't trying to get sweaty and win all of these. I was doing something else, but still having fun engaging with the game. And it taught me a lot about the map and locations and, different areas that I might not have ever explored if I was just playing to win, like just playing to shoot other players.
Yeah. And this season too, it's like there's almost some like PvE objectives throughout the map. Like there are strongholds and you can drop on them and take out like the leader and get their gun and get their like get their badge or whatever that like gives you constant shield regen but marks you on the map. And so there's a lot of cool stuff like that. During the winter event, I randomly like landed somewhere and like Krampus killed me, and I was like, I didn't even know you were here. So that's really cool. And it's also every time I play Fortnite and like I go somewhere else, like go to a different type of game that's like that. I just always appreciate that Fortnite is truly free to play. I know that they're constantly releasing, like, they have battle passes, they have skins that you want, they have, and I've bought them in the past. I can't help it. I want to run around as Obi-Wan. That's but there's like none of the guns, none of the weapons, none of that is locked behind this.
Yeah, you
just
going to
need a special skin. Like that's not locked behind this. Everything is just purely like I think Fortnite gets a lot of hate just in like gaming circles for like microtransactions, blah blah blah, and it's like that is how I think they should do it though, like because
you can have the exact same experience as everybody else. You're just going to be generic guy or girl with generic pickaxe, as opposed to being your favorite character with like cool guns that have like shiny skins on them.
Exactly. And like, they're fairly like the battle pass lasts for 3 months. And so, I mean, like you definitely have enough time to like get it completed in that amount of time. Like it's not particularly challenging to get it. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it still works like this, but I know previously, if you bought a battle pass and you completed it, you had enough money to buy the next one. You earned enough V-Bucks.
Yeah.
Some V-Bucks for playing the game. And so like you can kind of perpetually do it. Now, granted, they hope you spend that on, a skin in the store or something like that. But it's also one of those things where it's like, if you've played it enough, like paying $5 for a Obi-Wan skin is not unreasonable, but also, like I said, I don't feel like they're the worst I think you can say about it is it preys on some FOMO, where it's like, here's the Siri skin in the store.
Yeah, they put everything on timers to try to entice you to spend
Siri will be here
now.
for a week. If you want her, you got to buy her now, or she'll come back around later. And so but you want her now, right? And so like, they do that, but it's not like they put Siri in a Witcher battle or a Witcher loot box and you are paying money to get a chance at getting Siri or like a Witcher skin for your gun,
Yeah, it's definitely better than a lot of other monetization options we've seen. I don't have a problem with it at all, really. Personally, I can see how it could prey on people who have less willpower. But again, it's not my job as video game company A to cater to everybody and their issues or lack thereof or whatever. Ultimately, players have to take some responsibility in situations. If you can't boot up Fortnite without spending $25 on cosmetic crap, then you need to delete the game. That's on you. So I think that the fact that the core game is completely free and that they don't lock any pay to win stuff off. Yeah, I think it's a pretty fair way to approach this. And
like you said too, I mean, it's Fortnite Battle Royale. It's Lego Fortnite. It's the racing version. It's the
soon to be fighting game.
Soon to be fighting game, and also the sort of kind of bad racing game or
Guitar Hero
game.
There's rumors they're going to add instruments to it at some point.
Nice.
Which I feel like they would,
because they own Harmonix, right?
Yeah, Harmonix made that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so like the game is not. It's kind of disingenuous to say it's a bad game.
Yeah,
it functions just like Guitar Hero, but you have to play it on a controller, which sucks.
Which is just not great.
And they're also putting music on there that's not great to play, in my opinion. So
yeah,
it rotates out so like you could get a good song every now and then.
The average age of a Fortnite player is younger than us, probably, and so there's also and that reflects in the music choices that are being put out there.
Yes, but like if you were playing it on a plastic instrument of your choice, it would be just as solid as like mechanically as Rock Band or Guitar Hero, except that it's not that fun to play on a controller. I did not enjoy it,
especially the way that they've got it laid out. Like it's
I did hear on a
left bumper, right bumper, X and B or something like that.
No, it's B and X, and then it's the D-pads.
Oh, okay.
But you can change it to like the old school. Like you could play Guitar Hero on a controller back in the day. You can change it to that button layout where it's like the face buttons or whatever. Either way, though, you're playing the fun of those games. I like having
a color come up, so I'm like, okay, A, B.
The fun of those games is pretending to play a musical instrument.
Exactly.
It's not matching. It's not a timing puzzle that you're enjoying doing. It's feeling like you're playing Slash's guitar solo in like Sweet Child of Mine or whatever. Like that's the fun of those games. It's
you'd much rather play Hi-Fi Rush if you're just trying to play like
if you're just trying to do a rhythm.
Metal singer.
If I want to play a rhythm game, I'll play Sekiro. But but yeah,
I thought you want to play a good rhythm game though.
Fortnite it's still installed for me. It's been fun. The last 2 times I tried to log in, it put me in my dummy account though.
Oh,
and I was like, I don't like that it's doing this more consistently.
So surprised that that's like, you're the only person I've ever heard of that has that problem.
Yeah, so like when I sign in on my Xbox, if you're not in our Discord and haven't seen me ask for help about this, sometimes it puts me into this like dummy account that's separate from my Epic account. And so I'll have like just the basic character because now I've bought a battle pass. So it's like super easy to tell which account it is where initially it wasn't. And then usually I can quit out of the game and relaunch it and it connects to the Epic account correctly. And it puts me into my Epic, the account that if I were to sign in on PC, Switch or PlayStation, all my stuff should be there because it's talking to Epic. But sometimes it's like it puts it into just an account that it generated on the Xbox.
Interesting.
Based off like my Xbox gamer tag. And then that one just doesn't have like anything in it.
Yeah. And it's weird too, because your gamer tag then is connected to 2 separate Epic accounts, which doesn't seem like it should be possible.
Well, it's almost like the dummy account isn't connected to Epic.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's just an Xbox, like it never, like it didn't, it's not linked, and that's why it puts me there.
Yeah.
So I think what it's doing is it's failing the connection to Epic, and then it throws me into this secondary one. But I think it was the day before yesterday, I tried to play, like log in, and even quitting out and going back into it, I did that twice, and it put me in the dummy one, and I was like, oh, if this keeps happening, I'm going to have to actually like contact customer support because I've actually got money in the game now.
Yeah. Clear your cache or something.
First, I'm like, I don't understand, especially through console. It's like, what can I do? Like on a PC, you could go in and start trying to clean things up and whatever. I went to my Epic account, like through the Epic website, and everything is linked up normally there. When I logged on my Switch, it was my right account. So it's super weird. It's like the one wrinkle in all of this that has nothing to do with the game.
Yeah.
It's more just like the server side of Epic just trying to be everywhere.
Well, you also quick resume your games a lot. You use that feature a lot, right? Are you quick resuming?
No, okay. I only quick resume for certain games. So like Fortnite doesn't like it, so I'll quit out of that. Games that don't like it, I'll quit out. Like Dragon Ball Z, I'll leave that up because that's not going to do anything. And if like that, I can pick right back up and I'm good to go. And even some single player games, like I wouldn't quick resume Mirage when I was playing it because then it would crash. It was like it ran too long. Yeah,
generally has not played well with quick resume.
So for me, it's a case by case. But like anything that's online, like Halo, Fortnite. You know, anything that's like that, I always quit out and reboot it because otherwise you quick resume in and it's like, oh, there was a server problem and it boots you to the start anyways.
Yeah. I have not been quick resuming Baldur's Gate 3 because there was all that stuff going around about it eating Xbox saves. And I was like, it's probably somewhat due to quick resume. So I'm just not going to bother. I'm going to like manually save and quit out every single time.
I'm playing that on PlayStation. So PlayStation they keep your last game running.
Yeah.
But you can't have multiple. So I'll leave a game running on PlayStation, but yeah. So I don't know what's up with that whole Fortnite like account thing. It wasn't really affecting me too much. I may try to boot the game up again today after talking about it and see. Because if I can just get into my right account by quitting out and relaunching, that's not that big a deal. But if it keeps defaulting me to the dummy account, that's going to be a problem. And it could be that just that day Epic servers were like
swamped
doing maintenance or who knows overloaded whatever. And so that's why it kept doing that to me. But yeah, that is the only like kind of wrinkle that I've been dealing with. But yeah, that's Fortnite. And you mentioned it earlier, the last things I can touch on.
Yeah.
If you want to hear my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Mirage, I sum them up quite concisely on my YouTube video that has been out now for a couple weeks. Yeah. So definitely go check that out. I would appreciate it. It was me kind of playing around with video editing too. So like, I'm very proud of that video and I would love for you to go watch it.
It is very good.
So, and I've also shared my thoughts on this show quite a bit.
Yeah.
The
Game
basic
Awards or the
the underlying idea is that it was a good concept for a game, but they Ubisoft it. So I'm in kind of a gaming. I don't have a Baldur's Gate or a Witcher or whatever that's like consumed me.
Refusing to play it.
Well, I have Baldur's Gate. Yeah. It's just, it's not hooked me right now. So like, I don't have a game that has like just hooked me. So I'm bouncing between a lot of things. One of those things, they just recently put Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the most recent, but they recently over the last few months have put the like RPG Assassin's Creeds on Game Pass. So I originally played Assassin's Creed Odyssey on PlayStation, and I was looking for a game to have in my rotation that would get me Microsoft points for playing a game on Game Pass and getting achievements on Game Pass.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I haven't played Odyssey. Like I was thinking about it. I haven't really played Odyssey since like my oldest daughter was born. It was like in that time frame, which is crazy to think about that was like 5 years ago. So I booted it up, started an Alexios playthrough because I played as Cassandra the first time. And I was like, man, this game does so much right just as a game.
Yeah.
It's the people who made Black Flag, first of all. It's that studio. Okay. So that kind of makes sense. The one complaint that I have with it, and I can see it still even now, is they try to be Witcher with dialogue choices and things like that. And most of those, I just skip all the secondary dialogue because it doesn't matter. It doesn't feel as natural as it should. It very rarely contributes anything more to the conversation or the characters. So like, I feel like their decisions and their dialogue were a little bit shallow. But I jumped in this game that I played 5 years ago. And I was like, man, these characters look better than Mirage.
Yeah.
The game looks better. It's way bigger. So you can forgive the characters being a little bit janky. Because
it's not just a single city.
It's massive. Like I remember talking about how big Odyssey was, but it's huge.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was playing insane. It a few months ago, and it's so big.
And it's too big, probably.
Yeah.
But I feel like it gets away with it more, and it's a little bit better of an experience than I had with Valhalla because A, you have the ship stuff, which breaks up the gameplay, and then maybe it's just more interesting than the like fields and castles of England that Valhalla like took place in. Like aesthetically, it's just more pleasing and interesting. I don't know. I think that
and do you vibe with like the Greek mythology more than the Norse mythology stuff, or is it?
I'd say those are probably about even. Yeah. I think the like Egyptian is the coolest, and also that map was smaller than both of. It was still big, like it was huge at the time, especially for an Assassin's Creed game. But like compared to Odyssey and Valhalla, it's the smallest.
Yeah, well, and I think too it helps that like Odyssey or Origins is like Egypt, so it's mostly desert.
Yeah,
at least the areas that they put in. There's like Alexandria and a couple, and like some other big cities, but then it's a lot of the in between is just kind of like, and here's some desert.
Yeah, so you don't really do anything there.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of nothing in it versus like Odyssey, which is the Greek Isles, which is like a ton of different islands, each with their own thing kind of going on. And then there's, Valhalla, which is kind of just England, which is, cool and all, but also I feel like there's more diversity in like what you can do when it's a game centered around a bunch of different islands versus trying to have a cohesive, like this is England and also some of Scandinavia. So
I think also both games suffer. I think Origins had the best story because it was telling Bayek's story of revenge and, you know, how that affected his marriage and all. Like, that story was great. Odyssey, Valhalla tried to segment it up into like, these are different chapters of Eivor's life and each one is a self-contained adventure, and it kind of worked. Odyssey, the story is really kind of meandering, but I think as a game, it's kind of the most satisfying to play. Like, they kind of nailed the combat and the RPG stuff and the customization, and then they have the different systems of the like mini Nemesis system almost with the mercenaries and stuff. That was really cool. And then they have the, like, you're trying to take down the cult of Cosmos, which is like, so it's like broken up into these 3 different kind of gameplay segments that you're going through. I just thought that the presentation and the structure of Odyssey was good and interesting, whereas Valhalla kind of fell flat for me. I still think Origins is the best, and really the only reason I didn't restart Origins was because I already had all the achievements, and that would have defeated the purpose for what I was trying to do here. So, like, I don't know how far I'll get into Odyssey again, or maybe I'll just play it slowly over like the whole year or whatever, but it was interesting to boot this up after finishing Mirage.
Yeah.
And looking back and being like, well, even just 5 years ago, Assassin's Creed was like, I felt justified in my opinions, I guess, that like, okay, these games were great. And the only complaint people really had was like too big and not Assassin's Creed-y enough. But as a video game, like, they were incredible. They're kind of like Witcher Light, but they were really fun to play. And so it's like, I'm hoping that because Mirage was supposed to be DLC, that it's not like a true representation of what the series is going to be. But then they're putting Mirage on mobile.
Are they?
Yeah. And then there's that trailer for the new like Chinese one or whatever that's on mobile.
Jade or whatever. Assassin's Creed Jade.
And then they have the whole like rumors of doing the Assassin's Creed launcher thing, which could be cool if it works out well. Like, having all the Assassin's Creed under one umbrella would be kind of nice for someone like me that has all of them. But the way I closed my video is saying that I was like hesitant about the future of the series based on Ubisoft as a company right now.
Yeah, because all of those decisions you just described, it's kind of like, why though? Have you talked to anybody about this, or are you just talking to like your own internal like CEOs?
And they hit a point where it was kind of like another end of an era for Assassin's Creed with the end of Valhalla. They do have Basim that they can move forward with, and he will kind of probably be the link to whatever they do next. But it's a good time for them to refresh the series like they did when Origins came out. But I'm worried that they're going to just kind of try to turn it into a live service game or something.
Yeah, because that's worked out so well for them so far.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it's almost like they toyed with that with Odyssey and Valhalla, of like making these massive games, and they have stores in them where you can buy cosmetics, and then they like would release expansions and DLCs and stuff to try to keep people playing.
Yeah. At some point I picked up the season pass or the ultimate edition of like Odyssey, I think, when I bought the game, and so I have all like 400 DLCs for it.
You have,
and it's so much,
almost as much post-game content as game content, which I played through at least 3/4, if not all, of the Odyssey DLC, because if you like the kind of first Civilization storyline stuff, like Odyssey really dove into that with their DLCs. But it is just a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey after playing a like 100-hour base game. So yeah, I'd be curious to see. I am curious to see what they do with the franchise going forward. Hopefully they can kind of find the heart of it again, but we'll see. They need a guiding force for that franchise. They need kind of like a whoever the dude over Marvel is.
Feige.
Yeah.
Or, is that who Marvel is?
Yeah, Feige. But only up to like Endgame Feige. So
Gotcha.
We don't need whatever's happening now in Marvel.
Yeah.
But yeah. So.
Just some direction. Whoever is making decisions at Ubisoft has just made terrible decision after terrible decision for like the past 5 years. So.
Yes, the one shining light is the Prince of Persia game that like is reviewing really well right now and is a nice like, hey, we had a vision for this type of game with this type of aesthetic, and we nailed what we were going for. And so, but Ubisoft does that. They do that with their like Raymans and like their little like, kind of indie projects and smaller experiences. Yeah. People are like, oh, these are great. And then it's the big ones that are like making them all their money that just get so stale because they won't do anything exciting. That's why Origins was so exciting, because it was so different from anything Assassin's Creed had done up to that point.
Yeah. And like you said, 3 of them probably good, but mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, what's next? I want to see what's next. So I think that's probably a good neighborhood watch. It's been a minute since we did one, so it makes sense that this one is a little bit beefier, but yeah. I think we can probably roll into housekeeping here. It's the same stuff that we're always saying. Yeah. Go check out our YouTube channel if you haven't. We got our new...
Yeah, there will be a new video coming out when this goes live, but we don't know what it is yet because...
that's Dylan saying it's a surprise. Yeah, we know what it is. It's just a surprise.
Yeah, when this comes out, when you listen to this, we'll know what it is.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But yeah.
We're planning out the next like few months worth of content after.
Right, we did wrap up our like 2023 and early 2024 stuff that we had planned, so now it's time to see like what does the next 3 months look like for the content. So that's exciting.
So a video will be out. It will be good. You should go watch it.
And if you watch it, leave a comment. Yeah. Comments probably are the number one way you can help outside of subscribing. The comments do wonders for like
the algorithm
building momentum on these videos. So that would be very helpful.
Yes.
And then, if you want to hang out with us, if you want to tell me what you think is going to happen to the future of Assassin's Creed, if you want to tell me that I'm wrong and Mirage is actually a great game, jump into our Discord, come chat with us. That's the best place to do it. We are on social media and TikTok and stuff, but that's a little bit less consistent. We are pretty active in Discord, and we have a really cool community of people, some of whom you've heard on this show before, and some of whom are just there hanging out, members of the community. And it's always a good time in there. So definitely check the link in the description if that sounds cool to you. And that'll do it for this episode of the Neighborhood Watch. We appreciate you listening so very, very much. And we will catch you on the next episode. As Dylan dies,
like an eyelash in my eye,
gouging his eyeball out for the last 7 minutes. We hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of the Friendly Neighborhood Gamers podcast. If so, we would greatly appreciate your help in growing the show and the community by giving us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any other podcasting app that allows it.
We also have some great videos on our YouTube channel, including reviews, rankings, and other topics. We would really appreciate you checking it out. And if you want to keep up with everything going on in the neighborhood, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and feel free to jump in our Discord server.
We hope to see you there. Links for everything are in the podcast description. Thanks again for listening, and remember,
stay friendly, gamers.